Hello, good day. Welcome again to your channel, UP Math. So this time I'm going to discuss with you how to solve quadratic equations in three ways. First is when the quadratic equation is of the form ax squared plus bx equals 0, which implies that c is equal to 0. So tandaan nyo, sa first method, ang constant natin dito ay 0. Doon nyo lang siya pwedeng gamitin. Now, for number 2, extracting the square roots, dito naman, ang b ang 0. Okay? So magagamit lang ito kapag ang b natin ay 0. And lastly, number 3, trinomial of the form ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0 when a is equal to 1. O bakit when a is equal to 1? Kasi yung quadratic equation when a is not equal to 1, medyo complicated. So igagawa natin yun ng separate video. Okay, so let's start with number 1. Okay, solve the following quadratic equations. Letter A, x squared plus 3x equals 0. So, paano ba natin sinosolve ang ganitong quadratic equation when c is equal to 0? Well, we can use the method of factoring, no? But meron tayong shortcut para dito. So, ano ba yung shortcut? So, the solutions or roots of the quadratic equation of the form ax squared plus bx equals 0 are x equals 0 and x equals negative b over a. So, ayan ang shortcut, no? So, let us apply. So, bago natin mai-apply yung shortcut, since one of the solutions or roots of the equation is negative b over a, let us first determine the values of a and b. Saan ba yun kinukuha? Remember the standard form of the quadratic equation? It is ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So a is simply the coefficient of the variable x squared and b is the coefficient of the variable x. So for the quadratic equation x squared plus 3x equals 0, our a is equal to 1 and b is equal to 3. Oh, take note ha, pag walang nakalagay na coefficient, it is understood to be 1. So what are the solutions? Well, x equals 0 is always a solution and the other solution is x equals negative b over a. But since b is equal to 3 and a is equal to 1, then x is equal to negative 3 over 1 or negative 3. So the solutions are x equals 0 and x equals negative 3. So let's now proceed to letter B. We're given 4x squared minus 10x equals 0. So again, let us first determine the values of a and b. So a is equal to 4 and b equals negative 10. So what are the solutions? Again, x equals 0 is always a solution, and the other solution is x equals negative b over a. But since a is equal to 4 and b equals negative 10, then x is equal to negative of negative 10 over 4. Oh, be careful with the signs, no? Because b is negative 10. And negative of negative 10 is positive 10 over 4. Now, 10 and 4 are both divisible by 2. So, 10 over 4 is also equal to 5 over 2. So, what are the solutions? The solutions are x equals 0 and 5 over 2. So, let us now proceed to method number 2, the extracting the square root method. So, this one is easy, no? I-apply lang natin yung square root property which states that if x squared is equal to c, then x is equal to plus or minus the square root of c. Now, as I said a while ago sa ating discussion, kung sa method number 1, yung c ang 0, so this time, yung b naman ang 0. So, let's have an example. Letter A, we're given x squared is equal to 25. So applying the square root property, we have x is equal to plus or minus the square root of 25. So it's just like getting the square roots of both sides, no? Now, the square root of 25 is 5. So x is equal to 5 or negative 5. So what are the solutions? The solutions are 5 and negative 5. Letter B, we're given 2x squared minus 128 is equal to 0. So before we can apply the square root property, kailangan i-transpose muna natin yung negative 128 to the other side of the equation. So we get 2x squared is equal to 128. Then dividing both sides by 2, we get x squared is equal to 64. So applying the square root property, x is equal to plus or minus the square root of 64. But the square root of 64 is 8. So x is equal to 8 or negative 8. So what are the solutions? The solutions are 8 and negative 8. We now go to the last method, solving trinomials of the form ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, where a is equal to 1. Now we will do this by factoring. By the way, there are still two other methods. Yun pong by completing the square and by using quadratic formula na igagawa natin ng separate video. So for the meantime, let us solve letter A. So we have x squared minus 9x plus 14 equals 0. So paano ba natin ito ipafactor? So first, gawa tayo ng dalawang parentheses. Equate natin sa 0. Now, the factors of x squared, yung first term ay x and x lang naman. So, lagay na natin yan. Now, the next step is to think of factors of 14, yung ating last term, na kapag inad natin ay lalabas ang 9, no? Yung middle term. Now, bakit addition? Pag positive ang last term, yung constant term, dapat pag inad lalabas yung middle term. Pero pag negative ang last term, dapat pag sinubtract nyo, lalabas yung middle term. So, what are the factors of 14? Di ba pwede siyang 1 and 14? The problem is, when you add 1 and 14, the sum is 15. So, this is not the right choice. Now, how about 2 and 7? 2 and 7 add up to 9. So, this is a candidate, no? Now, ang kailangan nyo na lang gawin, tingnan nyo yung sign ng middle term. So, since the middle term is negative 9x, kailangan pareho silang negative para maging negative 9. And, of course, yung last term natin, since positive 14, talagang dapat pareho sila ng sign. Kaya dapat parehong negative to make it positive 14. So, the factors of x squared minus 9x plus 14 are x minus 2 and x minus 7. Now, the next step is to equate both factors to 0. So, we have x minus 2 equals 0 or x minus 7 equals 0. Ang tawag po natin dyan ay zero product property, which states that if the product of two numbers is 0, then one of them must be 0. So, if x minus 2 is equal to 0, then tatranspose lang natin yung 2 sa kabila, then x is equal to 2. And if x minus 7 is equal to 0, then x is equal to 7. So what are the solutions? The solutions are 2 and 7. So let's continue with letter B. We are given x squared minus 4x equals 45. So bago natin ito ma-factor, we need to transform this into standard form, no? So we have x squared minus 4x minus 45 equals 0. So, what are the factors? Again, lagay tayo ng dalawang parentheses, x and x equals 0. Now, we need to think of factors of 45 this time na kapag sinubtract natin, kasi negative 45 yan, will give us 4. Okay? So, what are the factors of 45? Pwedeng 1 and 45, no? Pero pag ito sinubtract natin, this is 44 and this is not the right pair. Now, how about 3 and 15? 3 times 15 is also 45. Pero pag sinubtract natin to, 15 minus 3 will give us 12. Again, this is not the right choice. Now, how about 5 and 9? 9 minus 5 is equal to 4. And so, this is the right pair. Ito yung hinahanap natin combination. So, lagay na natin ang 5 and 9 sa parenthesis. All we need to do now is to make sure na ang sign ng difference nila ay negative. Kasi negative 4x ang ating middle term. At para mangyari yon, 9 should be negative and 5 should be positive because negative 9 plus 5 is negative 4. So, what are the factors? We have x plus 5 and x minus 9. Again, equating both to 0, we have x plus 5 equals 0 and x minus 9 equals 0. If x plus 5 equals 0, then x equals negative 5. And if x minus 9 equals 0, then x is equal to 9. So what are the solutions? The solutions are negative 5 and 9.